Hey students, Alex from Mizu Education here. Today we're going to be focusing on the division techniques within algebra. So to get started, put on your set of headphones and let's zone in. Now before we get started, if you have watched our multiplication video within algebra, then you are already one step ahead, as the processes translate into this as well. So, the simple way to break down algebra division questions is to take 3 steps. The first step is by looking at the signs. So is it a positive? Is it a negative? The second step is looking at the numbers. The third step is looking at the letters, also known as a pronumeral. Now to solidify this, let's go through a practice walkthrough question just so you can get an understanding of how this works. So, for example, let's take the question 8xy over 2xy. The first step, let's have a look at the signs. And the way we're going to break this down is having a look at the numerator and the denominator, or top and bottom. So looking at the top, we've got a positive group, and looking at the bottom, we've also got a positive group. Whenever we have a positive divided by another positive, our answer will also be positive. So that's one thing to keep in mind, and that's our first step done. The second step is by having a look at our numbers. At the top, we have an 8. At the bottom, we have a 2. So what we're going to do, we're going to do 8 divided by 2. 8 divided by 2 gives us an answer of 4. That's our second step done. Our third step is having a look at the pronumerals. Now, with pronumerals, what we need to keep in mind is when we have like pronumerals, they will be cancelling each other out. In this case, we can see we have an x on the top and an x on the bottom. In this case, they are both going to cancel out, as x divided by x will just equal 1. So hence, you can do something like this. Looking at the y's now, we have a y on the top and a y on the bottom. Essentially what that means, y divided by y, which is equal to 1. So that means they can both cancel out as well. And in the end, we can see that our answer is 4. So let's go through those steps again. We walk through the sign, then we walked through the numbers, and then we targeted the pronumerals. Let's have a look at another question type. In this case, we've got minus 15a squared b divided by 3ab. Let's use the same process as we did before. First, let's have a look at our signs. We've got a negative on the top and a positive on the bottom. Whenever we have a negative dividing with a positive or vice versa, our answer will also be negative. And that's what we're going to input over here. That's our first step done. The second step is having a look at our numbers. We've got 15 and we've got 3. 15 divided by 3, that gives us an answer of 5. That's our second step done. Our third step is to have a look at our pronumerals. So let's have a look at those like pronumerals whenever we're doing these questions. So starting with the a's, we've got a squared divided by a. Now, in this case, what we need to keep in mind is wherever there is the higher power, that is what's going to remain in the end. Wherever there's the lower power, that is what's usually going to be cancelling out. So in this case, we've got a to the power of 2 divided by a. Now, because there's going to be 2 a's here and 1 a here, one of these a's will cancel out with one of the a's on the top. So at the top, there will still be 1 a remaining. Now looking at the b's, we've got b over b. Now, because they both have the same power, b divided by b is just going to equal 1, and that means they both cancel out. So what we get left in the end is a to the power of 1 in our pronumerals, or just a? Let's have a look at one last question to fully solidify this. So starting with our same principles, let's have a look at our signs first. We've got a negative on the top and a negative on the bottom. Now in this case, whenever we have a negative divided by another negative, they both cancel out to give us a positive answer. And that's our first step done. The second step is having a look at our numbers. 20 divided by 4. 20 divided by 4 is equal to 5. The final step is having a look at our pronumerals. Now, having a look at our pronumerals, let's have a look at those like pronumerals individually. So starting with our a, we've got a to the power of 3 divided by a. So this has the higher power, so this is what's going to remain at the end, or that's where it's going to remain in the end. A to the power of 3 divided by a, so one of these a's will cancel with only one of the a's, so there will be 2 remaining. The next step is having a look. Actually, before we do that, let's actually write that down so we don't forget. The second step, let's have a look at the b's now. We have b to the power of 4 divided by b. So where is the higher power? It's at the top over here. B to the power of 4 divided by b. So one of these b's is going to cancel with one of these b's. That means instead of 4 at the top, there's going to be 3. So b to the power of 3. Finally, let's have a look at the c's. We've got c divided by c squared. Now this time, the larger power is in the denominator. So c divided by c squared. So the c, wherever the c squared is, that's where the c is going to remain. So that means this c, one of those c's, will cancel out with one of these c's. So there will be only one c remaining at the bottom. And that's how division works overall within algebra. So to summarize, there are 3 steps you need to take. The first step is by having a look at the signs, so determining whether the top and bottom are either positive or negative, and by dividing them, what should be your resultant answer. The second step is by having a look at the numbers. And the third step is by having a look at your pronumerals. So the letters, this includes your A's, B's, X, Y, etc. Finally, whenever you are dividing and there is the interplay of powers, especially when you're dealing with your pronumerals, wherever the larger power is, that's what's going to remain, and you are cancelling out the smaller power, and you're taking away the number of that smaller power away from the larger power. So for example, if you have a to the power of 5 over a to the power of 3, the smaller power is here. You are taking away this power, but because this is a power of 3, you are subtracting the 3 away from this 5. So ultimately, you would get 2 over there. And this also changes if you've got the larger power on the denominator. So for example, let's just say we have x to the power of 2 over x to the power of 6. You can see here that the larger power is on the denominator. And here you would just be taking away this 2 from this 6. So 6 minus 2, that would give you an answer of 4 as the power. Now that we've covered the content and the walkthrough questions of algebraic division, let's have a go at doing some of those practice questions. See you on the other side. Alright, hopefully you've had a go at doing some of those questions. Let's see how we can approach them. So starting with question 1, let's use that same framework that we've gone through. So starting with signs, then numbers, and then pronumerals. So the first step, starting with our signs, we can see that we have a negative on the top and a positive on the bottom, shown by the gap over here. A negative divided by a positive will give you a negative answer. So let's input that over here straight away so that we don't forget. The second step is having a look at our numbers. 16 divided by 4. 16 divided by 4 gives us an answer of 4. The final step is having a look at our pronumerals. Now here we can see we've got an A on the top and an A on the bottom. Whenever there are pronumerals with the same powers on the top and the bottom, they both get cancelled out. So we have just an A on the top, just an A on the bottom, they both get cancelled out to equal 1. And ultimately our answer is negative 4. Let's move on to question 2. In question 2, let's use the same process again. Starting off with our signs, we have a negative on the top and a negative on the bottom. A negative divided by another negative will give you a positive answer. So let's ensure that we remember that there is a positive answer over here. The second step is having a look at our numbers. 30 divided by 10, that gives you an answer of 3. The final step is having a look at our pronumerals. Now, because we're dealing with multiple pronumerals over here, let's group those like pronumerals together. So starting with the x's, we have x cubed divided by x squared. Because we're dealing with powers over here, let's first figure out where is the larger power. The larger power is on the numerator. So what's going to happen is that this x to the power of 2 is going to cancel. And because it's an x to the power of 2, 2 would be subtracted from this 3. 3 minus 2 gives us an answer of 1. X to the power of 1 will be the next answer, or you can just write x. Now looking at the y's, we have y squared over y squared. Now because they are the same pronumeral raised to the same power on both the top and the bottom, they both will cancel out. So ultimately in the end, our answer will remain as 3x. Now moving on to the final question, question number 3, we have a minus 14a to the power of 5, b cubed c to the power of 4, divided by 7a b to the power of 5 c to the power of 3. Let's use the same steps that we've gone through so far. So starting with step number 1, having a look at our signs, we've got a negative on the top and a positive on the bottom. A negative divided by a positive will give you a negative answer. So let's ensure that we put that over here. The second step, let's have a look at the numbers. 14 divided by 7. 14 divided by 7 gives us an answer of 2. That's our second step done. Our third and final step is having a look at our pronumerals. And because we've got many different pronumerals over here, let's work with them individually in their like pronumeral. So starting with the a's, we've got a to the power of 5 divided by a. A to the power of 5 has the larger power, so that's where the a is going to remain. We have the smaller a over here. Now because this is just an a, that's a to the power of 1. So that means 1 will be subtracted from this 5. That will give you a to the power of 4. So let's put that over here. So that's our a group done. Let's have a look at our b's. We've got b to the power of 3 divided by b to the power of 5. Let's have a look where the larger power is. We can see that it's on the bottom over here. So that is where the b is going to remain. So because that is where the b is going to remain, we need to include a fraction over here in our answer. So b to the power of 3 over b to the power of 5. So the 3 will subtract from the 5. This will cancel. 5 minus 3, that will give us an answer of 2. So b squared will appear on the bottom because that is where the b remains. The final one, let's have a look at the c group. We have c to the power of 4 divided by c to the power of 3. The larger power is at the top, the lower power is on the bottom, so this will cancel, and the 3 will subtract from the 4. So 4 minus 3 will give you a power of only 1. And c to the power of 1 just means c. So overall, we can see that our answer is minus 2a to the power of 4c over b squared. Alright, hopefully you found those division techniques within algebra helpful, and if you did, comment in the chat. This is Alex signing off for now. See you all in the next one. Stay sharp.